curious people, here's a quick problem inspired by a cartoon that I no longer consider myself to be a fan of. Round the square root of 71,174 to one significant figure. Feel free to pause here if you want to try it, since I'll walk through the solution in 3, 2, 1. Now, the square root of 71,174 could be thought of as the side length of a square with area 71,174. So, since a square with a side length of 200 would only have an area of 40,000, which is too small, the side length or square root that we're interested in must be more than 200. And similarly, since a square with side length 300 would already have an area of 90,000, which is too big, the square root we're investigating must be less than 300. So our square root is between 200 and 300. But what does it mean to round to one significant figure? Well, if we were working with a number from 1 to 10, then rounding to one significant figure would have meant rounding to the nearest whole number. And if we were working with a number from 10 to 100 that time, then rounding to one significant figure would have meant rounding to the nearest 10. Yet since we discovered that the square root we want to round is between 200 and 300, it must be from 100 to 1000, and rounding to one significant figure for such numbers would mean rounding to the nearest 100. Now currently, just knowing that the square root is between 200 and 300 isn't enough to determine whether we're supposed to round to 200 or 300, since we don't know which one's closer. So we need to look at the side length in the middle of 200 and 300, which would be 250. Now, checking the square with side length 250, we find that it only has an area of 62,500, which is smaller than the required 71,174. Therefore, the square root that we are looking for is more than 250. And since we said earlier it's less than 300, it must be between 250 and 300. And thus, rounding it to the nearest 100, which would be what is implied in the instructions of rounding to one significant figure, will result in 300, aka the answer to this problem. So, how well did you do? Feel free to let me know in the comments, and as always, stay curious.